All right, so you've got the gig. Now what? I guess that's the topic here.
Right. So we're talking about commuting and all the things to consider, and I'm sure we've got stories.
I never really was taught, I was taught to be on time, but I wasn't taught that if you're on time, you're late. Before you get into the hall, where's the parking? Before you get to the parking lot, what pitfalls are going to happen on the commute that could slow you down and potentially make you late, which is honestly, it's you cannot be late.
Yeah, it's pretty much unacceptable,
Oh, there's absolutely no wiggle room here.
which is why one of the reasons why us freelancers are always in our car because we leave a huge window of time to get somewhere because you
Correct. Yeah.
absolutely can't be late. It's just non-negotiable. So, like the average length of time when you just put it into Google Maps or whatever, and it says an hour and 45 minutes, which is probably be typical. So, you need to leave like an extra hour in my view. Like, would you agree? Yeah.
I mean, if you have it. So that's going to be another mini topic. But yeah, absolutely. I've learned with carpooling too to be aware of what your carpool partner is going to need versus what you're going to need. Because you could make your passenger very, very, very nervous if you're that person who feels like they can get into their seat 15 minutes before and they need 45 minutes to warm up in their seat. So that's a discussion to have with anyone you're carpooling.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, adding that extra time. Okay, so Julia, why would you add an extra hour to your commute?
So, snow, traffic, construction, you get a flat tire. Like none of these things are excuses if you're late. It doesn't matter. If there was a huge like if the freeway was shut down, well, maybe if the freeway was shut down.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe, but I like almost not. There was that
Right.
famous snowstorm in Chicago in like 2016 or something like that. I forget the year. But I remember I saw, all the pictures on the news, and there was a story, a musician, pit musician, and he, like many people did, just abandoned his car on a Lakeshore Drive because it was just piling up. He abandoned his car and jumped over the railing of the highway there and ran to the gig. I often commuted from Chicago to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and back.
Yeah.
So, like for a concert, I would leave 4 hours and I would just get dinner or eat my dinner
Yeah.
when I got there.
Right. That's a
But
really good strategy because then you're guaranteeing you're in the city and in the area.
there's just nothing like that sinking feeling of being stuck in traffic, not moving at all. And you've got something like 93 miles left to go. Like, what does that
Yeah.
translate to? And you're nowhere near, like, nowhere near. You're not even in the right state yet. And it's just like it causes so much anxiety. I would always have my dinner. Oh, my dinner. I always had the same dinner. It was so sad. It was peanut butter and jelly sandwich only because
Oh,
it's
always the
easy.
best.
Yeah, it's easy to manage in the car. It's not going to fall out and like with lettuce and stuff. And I had an apple and a granola bar. That was my dinner. But I would often find myself once I found parking because it's street parking for us like subs. The full timers had parking garage like assigned parking or I don't know what they had, but
Right.
like a sub, you figure it out on your own. So I had to look for street parking, and by the time I found street parking, I would just sit there and I would plan to have something to do, a book or my French lesson, or then I would eat my dinner,
Great.
my sad dinner, and like or make a phone call that I needed to make, do emails. I would do all that in my car like it's an office. So I would usually have a whole hour. But one time it was a morning rehearsal, 10 a.m. and I left it, I don't even remember, some like 6:30 or something. I did not get there till like minutes before 10 just because of a combination of things. It was snowing and I don't even just for no reason, some reasons I don't remember, but I barely made it. And then you get there and you think, well, everyone's going to be late, but everyone's there.
Yes, you're like, oh, it's a snowstorm. I'm sure everyone else is gonna. No, it's just
Um,
me. I want to give some experiences that I've had as a principal cellist when I've turned around 5 minutes before tuning and there's a seat empty.
yeah.
It's a very destabilizing feeling because in our section we've got divisi passages. People have practiced their parts. What do? Do you have people move up, and then all of a sudden the person shows up and everyone has to move back. I mean, more often than not, you don't move the section around unless that person is clearly not there and a part needs to be covered. But it is so disconcerting and unnerving to turn around and see a seat empty that isn't supposed to be. Maybe it's an inside player, so now all of a sudden the outside player doesn't have their page turner. Oh, and then maybe the person who comes in late or even 5 minutes before the downbeat has to shuffle through the bass section. And they've set up, I mean, the bass section sets up and they're like, we're done setting up. And if you're coming in 3 minutes before tuning, everybody's already grouchy at you. So,
And wouldn't you agree, like your principal, the conductor may not be aware because they're probably not on the stage yet, but your principal will notice. Like,
oh, yeah.
oh,
Yep.
and if you're a sub, that's the main thing they're going to remember about you.
That's true. They might not hear you at all. They
Yeah.
might not, but they are going to see that you're showing up 5 minutes before tuning. That's not, yeah, like I said, with the carpool, I mean, you've got to plan out your carpool and have that conversation with what time do you want to get there. So, I mean, carpooling with classical musicians is hard because everybody's got their own concept of what when they want to get there. And
Yeah.
I mean, I respect that, but like you got to have that communication because I've seen that go sour too. If one person's freaking out, the other person's like, "We're gonna be fine."
Right.
Other things are like, I don't know, maybe this isn't necessary to talk about, but offering to help pay for gas,
Yeah.
offering to buy a drink to your driver, for your driver, being courteous of the person you're carpooling with. I mean, these are things I don't feel like we should cover, but I hear people complain about it all the time.
I do remember a carpool I had once in Chicago. I think specifically going to Elgin Symphony from the city, from Chicago. There were 4 or 5 of us in this minivan. It was a viola player was the main driver. We rotated, but she was like the main organizer. I think we just rotated people driving. We never paid for each other's gas or whatever, but we had it worked out amongst ourselves. And we picked up this young bassoon player once, and nothing on his part like, should I drive? Well, he didn't have a car, so I guess he can't be like, so I can drive next time, but he didn't offer anything to the table. You've got to at least offer. I mean, you can offer and people are likely to be like, don't worry about it.
Right. One of my friends said that her carpool buddy sat in the back seat with his AirPods on the whole time.
That's so rude.
Like, are you kidding me? Yeah, the kinds of things that you don't think about when you're practicing your excerpts.
Right. And other things that when you ask me, like, what are the things you're considering when you leave this much of a window, is sometimes, I mean, sometimes you know exactly where you're going, what the parking situation is, and where the stage door is. But I would say most gigs, you're given some information, and especially, of course, I'm dating myself. I think you're in this camp too, but there was no internet, so like you're just given
Oh
an
yeah.
address, and you look at a paper map, and it's like, hey.
Oh my God.
You had to
Yeah.
like put on your little detective hat and like go out
Ooh,
exploring, and
right.
like hope you find it. So I think that got ingrained in me so early, as when I was younger in my 20s,
Right.
no internet, no cell phones for sure. And you got to
Right.
head out into the great unknown and you have to leave a lot of time because I can't
Yeah.
remember how many weddings I went to out in the country somewhere. I got so lost.
I think one of the things I wanted to also add is that this, like you just mentioned weddings, this even more so for weddings, because every wedding you play is in a different location. I know string players do tons more weddings, so I mean, I've been doing them for decades, but yeah, zero wiggle room for being late. But I found late, as expectations got higher for wedding gigs, been leaving even more time because there's now I have gear to set up like a little amp, and I have to make sure I can plug in, and I have to make sure my gear is working. So that even requires more time. So a lot of us are using a lot more electronics on our wedding gigs now that take a lot more time to set up than just pulling your instrument out.
When I lived in Dallas, everything was minimum an hour away because of traffic.
Yeah, yeah, right,
So I
right.
can only imagine what like LA is like or Boston
Mhm.
or whatever. So in Chicago it was an hour just to get out of the city. And then it would probably be another hour with no traffic to like Milwaukee, Wisconsin or
Right.
wherever Indiana.
To Madison, I did the
Yes.
Chicago Madison commute a lot and
Yeah.
just had to leave a ton of time. The Kennedy was always super slow that time of day, and
Yep.
But yeah,
Yeah.
you get there early, you go to Noodles and Company, you grab your comfort food,
Right.
and it requires a lot of planning.
Yeah.
And we don't often have the time to do the planning, but it's if you can find it, it's so worth it. Get your food prep, get your caffeine prep, get your people on in the carpool, to make sure they're on time. It's really important. All right, well, I think we've covered that topic really, really
Yeah.
successfully and really thoroughly. For those of you who are just joining us with this episode, thank you so much for joining us. We always like to spread the word, like, share, tell your friends, and give us some input anytime you just drop a comment. Great to see you, Julia, and thanks
You
everybody who's
too.
watching. All
Bye.
right.